The wind bit through the thin jacket as she tucked her arms close to her chest. Nights like this were merciless, the kind that made a person question whether morning would ever come. Brianna sat on the steps of a closed diner, her knees pulled to her chest, eyes scanning the dark street for anyone who might mean trouble. The city was loud even at night, the horns, the sirens, the conversations drifting from bars, but for her, it all blurred into background noise. Hunger was sharper than sound, sharper than the cold. It made her stomach twist, made her legs weak. She had learned to ignore it, the way she had learned to ignore the pitying stares of passers-by and the disgusted glares of others. She wasn't always like this. There had been a time when she had a bed, a family, and some sense of tomorrow. But after her mother's long illness consumed what little savings they had, after the rent went unpaid, after the apartment door was locked from the outside by the landlord, home became whatever bench or step was unoccupied. She was only 16, and though she tried to hide it, her youth was obvious. That made her a target and she knew it. It was past midnight when she finally forced herself to move, knowing she needed to find a safer spot before sleep overtook her. As she shuffled along the cracked sidewalk, she saw something lying half-hidden near a street lamp. At first, she thought it was just trash, another piece of leather discarded by someone who didn't care. But when she bent down, she realized it was a wallet, thick, heavy, the kind you didn't see often. She hesitated, glancing around to see if someone was nearby, but the street was empty. Her heart pounded. She opened it cautiously, almost afraid of what she might find. Inside, there were several crisp bills folded neatly, and when she counted quickly with trembling hands, her breath caught. $5,000, maybe more. She hadn't held even 100 in years. And then she saw the cards, platinum, embossed with the name, Ethan Voss. The name rang faintly familiar, though she couldn't place it. The photograph on the driver's license showed a tall, square-jawed man, probably in his late 40s. Brianna's mind raced. With this money, she could eat for weeks, maybe even rent a room somewhere safe. She could buy clean clothes, shoes without holes, maybe even restart her schooling. It was a lifeline dropped straight into her lap. But as she sat there on the curb, clutching the wallet, another thought pressed against her. This belonged to someone, and whoever he was, he must be panicking right now. She thought of her mother, who had always said, "What you do when no one's looking shows who you really are." The temptation clawed at her, but slowly, painfully, she closed the wallet, slipping the money back into place. She didn't know how yet, but she would return it. She had to. Morning came with the gray light of dawn and the smell of coffee drifting from the diner as it reopened. Brianna had barely slept, the wallet hidden under her jacket. She went to the library as soon as it opened, one of the few places that didn't chase her away. Using the free computers, she typed in the name, Ethan Voss. Her eyes widened. Articles filled the screen. Ethan Voss, tech billionaire, CEO of Voss Industries expands philanthropy, one of the richest men in America. She swallowed hard. She had found not just a wealthy man's wallet, but the wallet of a billionaire. Every instinct told her to just leave it on some police station counter and disappear. People like him didn't cross paths with people like her. But something made her want to see this through. Maybe it was stubbornness, maybe it was the echo of her mother's words, maybe it was the hope that for once, doing the right thing would mean something. She found the headquarters of Voss Industries in the city center, a towering glass building that looked like it touched the sky. She stood across the street, her reflection small in its shining surface. The security guards alone made her hesitate. She looked out of place, dirty jacket, worn-out sneakers, hair uncombed. But she tightened her grip on the wallet, straightened her shoulders, and crossed. Inside, the lobby was vast, gleaming with marble and filled with people in sharp suits. Conversations hummed, heels clicked against the floor, and she immediately felt like a weed in a garden of roses. A receptionist behind a curved desk raised an eyebrow as Brianna approached. "Can I help you?" the woman asked, her tone skeptical. I found this," Brianna stammered, holding up the wallet. "It belongs to Ethan Voss. I need to give it back to him." The receptionist's eyes flicked to the wallet, then back to Brianna. "Mr. Voss doesn't see visitors without appointments." "Please," Brianna insisted, voice trembling but firm. It's important. There must have been something in her expression, because the receptionist hesitated, then made a call. Within minutes, a tall man in a suit appeared. He looked down at Brianna, suspicion clear in his gaze, but when she handed him the wallet, his eyes widened slightly. He checked inside, then murmured something into his earpiece. "Wait here," he told her. Brianna's heart pounded so hard she thought it might break her ribs. She considered running before things got complicated. But then another figure appeared from the hallway, a man with neatly combed hair, gray at the temples, sharp eyes, and a commanding presence. She recognized him instantly from the photos. Ethan Voss. He stopped in front of her, studying her with curiosity. "You found my wallet." Brianna nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, sir. It was on the street. I didn't take anything. It's all there." He opened it, checked the contents, and then looked back at her. There was no disbelief in his eyes, only an unreadable intensity. "Do you know how many people would have kept this?" She swallowed. "I thought about it. But, it's not mine." For a moment, silence stretched between them. People around had paused, watching, whispering. Then Voss did something that stunned everyone. He smiled faintly, and said, "Come with me." The office at the top of Voss Industries was unlike anything Brianna had ever seen. Glass walls framed a panoramic view of the city, and the furniture looked like it belonged in magazines. She sat awkwardly on the edge of a leather chair, feeling painfully out of place. Voss poured himself a glass of water, then leaned against his desk, studying her. "What's your name?" "Brianna," she said softly. "Brianna," he repeated, as if testing how it sounded. "You could have disappeared with this wallet and lived comfortably for a while. Why bring it back?" Her eyes dropped to her hands. "Because, my mom always said to do the right thing. Even when it's hard. She's gone now, but I try." There was something in her tone, a raw honesty that struck him. He didn't say anything for a moment, then asked, "Where do you live?" She hesitated, ashamed. "I don't. Not really. I've been on the streets since last year." His eyes narrowed slightly. He was a man used to reading people, and he saw no deceit in her. Just exhaustion, courage, and a trace of fear. "You returned a fortune you could have used to survive," he said quietly. "That's rare." Brianna shrugged, blinking back tears. "I didn't want to survive that way." For a long moment, the room was silent except for the faint hum of the city below. Then Voss stood straighter. "Brianna, what you did shows integrity. Most adults don't have. I don't believe in coincidences, and I don't believe people cross paths by accident. So here's what we'll do." Her eyes lifted, uncertain. "I'll make sure you're safe. No more sleeping on the streets. I'll arrange housing, schooling, and anything you need to rebuild your life. And if you're willing, I'd like you to work with one of my foundations. We help young people get second chances." Brianna stared at him, words caught in her throat. It was too much, too fast. Part of her wanted to reject it, fearing it was a dream she'd wake from. But another part, the part that had carried her through every hungry night, every cold morning, whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was real. Her voice cracked when she finally spoke. Why would you do this for me?" Voss smiled faintly. "Because once, a long time ago, I was lost too. And someone helped me. I've never forgotten it. And now, I see that same strength in you." Tears slipped down her cheeks before she could stop them. For the first time in so long, she felt seen, not as a problem to be avoided or a thief to be suspected, but as a human being who mattered. That day changed everything. Brianna walked out of Voss Industries not as the invisible girl on the steps of a diner, but as someone with a future. What began as a lost wallet had become the start of a new life, one she never could have imagined. And for Ethan Voss, it was a reminder that sometimes the most extraordinary acts of honesty came from those the world overlooked, and that those acts could change lives in ways no amount of wealth ever could.